Our speaker for tonight is Chief Bill Major. He is the chief of the Airport Crash Fire Rescue Fire Department for Buffalo Airport, and he will be speaking with a slideshow presentation, and he'll be explaining his duties, the duties of the department as far as they relate to BNIA, the airport, and also surrounding communities, because in the past few months they've been called on for different things by local fire departments. So we'll give it to the chief.
All right. Good evening. Maybe I don't use a microphone, usually I'm loud enough, but I want to make sure that I get the message out as we go along here. All right. I want to block your view. I'll just stay next to you. I usually block this course to kind of keep me in place. Thanks for the introduction. I am Bill Major. I am the 7th fire chief at the Buffalo Airport since the fire department was created. Tonight we're going to go over some things about the airport itself, and then the fire department and the different activities that we do and how the community is involved with that. We're coming up on our 100th year anniversary at the Buffalo Airport next year. So happy to be in the same location for the last 100 years. And then we'll be looking at some sort of celebration process with that. They did one in the 50 year, I wasn't there. So, but they did one then. I started with the airport in 2008. I've been a paramedic and a firefighter from the volunteer world and a career world since 1984. I've had the opportunity to come to the airport in 2008 and move up through the ranks. First thing I want to talk about is it's a safe way to travel. There's a lot of concerns. I hear people's concerns. I hear my family talk about it. I hear friends talk about it. I hear members of the community talk about the accidents that have occurred most recently. This slide I got from a lawyer's slide set, right? And it talks about in under 2 weeks in 2025, 3 plane crashes occurred in the United States, 78 fatalities. It's still accurate to say that plane travel is among the safest modes of transportation. When an accident happens, the results are often catastrophic. And they're often with the commercial aircraft as the ones that catch a lot of the news. General aviation aircraft crash on a regular basis as well. In my years as fire chief, and even being with the airport, I was working in light of 3407. I went to that as a firefighter, and then I got promoted in November of that same year. I've been to 5 crashes, fatal crashes, in the last 2 years, and they've all been general aviation aircraft, or the Mercy flight. Right, so they do happen. They are catastrophic, and they're catastrophic to the family members. Whether it's 78 people, or it's 6 people, or it's 1 person, it's catastrophic. Aviation accident rates have gone down over the years, except for these last couple that we've had. If you think about it, from 2009 to 2025, we haven't had a commercial aircraft crash in the United States. Right? Not on the way. And why is that? I give a lot of credit to the families of 3407 standing up and challenging the way that we have done things in the past. The death rate for car travel is decreased 5.3%. But traveling by car is still a more dangerous motorized transportation option. I say to people all the time, you're more chance of getting killed on the way to the airport than once you get on our plane. Over the last 10 years, passenger vehicle death rate per 100,000 passengers, 100 million passengers is 50 times higher than buses, 17 times higher than passenger trains, and 1,000 times higher than a scheduled aircraft. So I want you to know that there's safety in still flying. The highlight there, air travel is safe, but it relies on the operator, it relies on the equipment, the training procedures for the operator, the the training procedures for the air traffic control, the training procedures for the first responders, all have a great power in how these accidents happen and make it unsafe or make it safe. So that's enough about the commercial for traffic being safer than that you can come to the airport and fly out safe. The Buffalo Airport is really a city within itself. We have a fire department, we have a police department, which is a transit police department. The transit police department has a metro division and an aviation division. We have an airfield department, which I equate to the highway department that a community would have. Their role is to make sure that the runways, the taxiways, the parking lots are safe. And it's not just in the winter, but today when we had all that torrential rain, the sweepers are out there sweeping the runway to make it safe. The field checks that go on a regular basis. They also mow the grass, because we have a wildlife division within the airfield. We have lots of wildlife that likes to wander through. We have a coyote that likes to visit us. We have a fox that likes to visit us. Occasionally we get a deer that bounces through. The birds, you hear about bird strikes all the time. So we have a wildlife group within the airfield that is specifically assigned to that duty that day. And they cover that, and that's part of their responsibilities. Maintenance department has to keep the airfield's equipment running, has to keep my equipment running. We have a facilities maintenance department. The terminal is a huge building, and that needs to be maintained. We push through over 1 million passengers in a given year typically, so all your needs have to be met there. Right? So there has to be redundancy in different systems, whether it's electric, HVAC, plumbing, and so forth. And then you have the terminal. The terminal operations is a huge piece. And that's where most of the general public sees the terminal operations when they fly through, when they're coming through. Either to pick up folks or to fly out themselves. Staffing, we're going to review the fire department staffing. The police department staffing is similar. The airfield, they have openings there. Everybody's looking as a CDL and wants to explore that avenue. There's always positions there. Same thing with facilities and the terminal. Some general facts, the airport itself is over 1,000 acres in size. We have 25 passenger gates with jetways. We average about 100 flights a day. Those flights are commercial, cargo, and our general aviation, and in our regional and our business jets as well. There's multiple parking lots. Anybody know where our new cell phone lot is? Where's that? It's up there, right? Buell Avenue, right? We moved it. We moved it over to Buell Avenue, so that's where our cell phone lot is for folks to be able to park. There's also parking right there. You can park there as well. Gets down to the C&D index FAA rating. So the C&D index you're going to hear about is from the fire department standpoint, what I have to have for equipment. We are a C index airport, which means I have to have a certain amount of water and a certain amount of foam. Any idea how much water I have to have as a C index airport? What's that? 5K. You're close. It's 3K. And then I have to have a secondary agent, which is our foam or our dry chem. And dry chem is the secondary agent that we use. So for a C index airport, we have to have 3,000 gallons of water and 450 pounds of secondary agent, which is either halotron or purple K or sodium bicarbonate. We are, from the FAA standpoint, if you follow the index to the degree, it's 2 trucks. The FAA does not dictate staffing. They don't say how many firefighters you have to have. The airport administration makes that decision on our staffing levels. So when you go to the D index, that's one size up from us. So the smallest area is an A. Niagara Falls Airport's a B. Put it in relationship. We're a C operating, we're a C operating as a B because of our cargo planes, but they don't count the cargo planes. For our ratings, what they do is they use the size of the aircraft and 5 flights a day coming in and out of the airport. I'll give you a perfect example. I went to the fire academy and I worked for the city of Batavia. My roommate, it was a Ithaca airport firefighter. He's now the chief there, Josh. They're in Ithaca, they're in C-Index Airport. He has 2 gates. I have 25. I'm a C-Index Airport. Now, he's a small hub. With COVID, we were small hub, we moved up to a medium hub, so things change again. But from the airport firefighting standpoint, from the FAA, we're a C. The D would be LaGuardia, and then you have your E's, which is your JFKs. So those are the facts about, some of the facts for us at the airport. Our commercial aircraft, we're down to 5 now. We have Southwest, we have United, we have JetBlue, we have American Airlines, and we have Delta. When I started, there was a few more, and they've slowly converged together here out of Buffalo. We're also noticing the size of the aircraft. You're not seeing as many regional jets or the smaller jets. Everything's moving to the narrow body side of jets, which is your 737s, your Airbus 319s or 320s. They see about 108 of those. A E-Index airport is going to have your 747, your 767, and multiple 200-300 people on. Other airlines that come out of the airport, cargo, we move a lot of UPS and FedEx. You can typically tell the UPS schedule and the FedEx schedule. At the time they're coming in, they typically fly in about 4:30 in the morning, and they get at 10 o'clock, and then they go back out around 11 p.m. 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. To watch the UPS operation at night is pretty impressive. Same thing in the morning, with them constantly moving their product at the assembly line that they have and how their times. FedEx has got the same process going on. We have multiple general aviation aircraft, which are our smaller aircraft. We do have a flight school that operates out of the airport from time to time. We have some of our smaller planes, the Cessnas, the single prop planes. You see those on a regular basis. That's our general aviation that flies in and out of the airport. Signature Aviation is our FBO. It used to be prior. Years ago, it started with prior. It's changed to TAP Air, and then it went to Signature. Signature is a national company, and they have FBOs across the country. They have grown their business and taken more hangar space at the airport at 485. They also have air or your things that they have at the airport. AirShare is a lease FBO. They're not quite an FBO, it's a private company, but you can buy a timeshare per se. The easiest way to explain it, it's like a timeshare. I pay for whatever the cost is, and I'm able to use that plane from time to time. That also has a hangar there. The sports teams, we have the Bills come in and out, the NFL teams coming in and out, the hockey teams coming in and out, and then we had the baseball, when it was Major Leaguers here, we had Toronto guys coming in and out. The hockey and the football, hockey and the baseball create a challenge for us because of customs. So we have a customs division that's on airport property over by prior. We also have rules that we have to follow when we get diversions. We get quite a few diversions, weather diversions, into our airport. Typically, if somebody's flying into Toronto and they're having a weather problem, they'll divert to Buffalo. Or if they're having a problem in LaGuardia or down at JFK, they'll divert to Buffalo and park in Buffalo for a while. If they're on the ground, the commercial aircraft is on the ground for more than 3 hours, they have to get off the plane. If they're on the ground, the international flights are on the ground for more than 4 hours, they too have to get off the plane. They can't come off the plane until customs has cleared them. So when you go to the terminal, we have an international part where we send folks down into for customs clearance. And then you have your VIPs. We got some pictures on the different aircraft that have come through here. We've had the presidential visits, we've had the vice president visits, we get the governor, we've got the attorney general, we get different celebrities that come through. We typically don't talk about the celebrities coming through to give them their piece.
What about military?
We get a lot of military aircraft. Some of it is touch and goes for them. Some of it is, we do get some military folks that have to get so many hours in, will fly for the day. And we get to see those aircraft because they're making their flights. And for the Bills games, many times we'll have the military aircraft stay at the airport as well. When the VIPs come in, when the president comes in, we'll get a significant amount of military aircraft that comes in with that. I want to talk about the aircraft passenger makeup. These are some estimates. Pre-COVID, bulk of our travel was business folks, right? Because we were traveling more pre-COVID. Business folks were traveling on a regular basis. And the makeup was probably 80% adult and 20% pediatric. And you say, what does that matter to us? Well, it matters to us as first responders. Because if a plane goes down, we have to be able to care for those folks, right? So on a 120 passenger aircraft, 96 adults, 24 pediatrics. Not a big deal, 24 pediatrics. But think about it, in our community, we have one pediatric center. One of the things that I have to look at as a fire chief and working with the hospitals and the EMS folks in the area, what are we going to do to move folks if we do have an event here to Rochester, to Syracuse, to Erie, Pennsylvania? How many can we care for here? So it does become a bit of a challenge for us. Post-COVID, we're about 60% adult, 40% pediatric. Because families are flying more, right? They're traveling more. Business travelers, they're returning, but they haven't returned to the level that they were. But when you look at that 120 passenger aircraft, it's 72 adults, 48 pediatrics. So it increases the numbers for us. Same number of people, it's just a makeup for us. We have 2 runways, 523, which is our most active runway. It's 8,827 feet long, it's 150 feet wide, it has 10 taxiways. 523 to give you bearings is the 23N, the approach end of 23 is on the 90 when you're coming down the 90. That's the approach end of 23. The approach end of 5 is Genesee and Cayuga. Or Dick, whatever, however you want to call it. Yes, sir. Our runways are determined by the wind, but it's by 180 degrees on a compass. So if you look at 5 and you add 180 to that, it would be 230, but we shortened it to 23. So that's how we get that. And then 1432 is our crosswind runway. It's 7,100 feet long, it's 150 feet, and it's got 9 taxiways. 523 is ILS, so we has the instrument rated. 1432, the 32N, the 32N is by the local gas speedway, I call it local, but it's a speedway gas station, is the approach end of 32, and the approach end of 14 is Tim Hortons and Charlie the Butcher. So if someone's landed on 14, the weather has to be good because they can't use instruments. If they land on 32 or 523, the weather can be bad and they can use their instruments. So, and 1432 is our crosswind runway. How do we determine which runway we're flying on? Typically it's by the wind direction, and if there aren't a lot of winds, they let the pilots make the decision how they want to go. Or there's construction, right? So the last 2 years, we've done some construction projects. The last couple of years, we updated 1432, which was a major project for us. And that runway was quite old, the base to it, and that took a while, but they got that done in a year. 523 we've done over the last 2 years. We did half 1 year and the other half this past year. We do have more work that's going to be done, hopefully, on taxiway Alpha, but we're waiting on the funding. The funding's been held up with the current world that we're in, so we're still waiting on that. But the goal for us is to push through that and get that done so we can complete the project. And when they did the project, they changed some of the taxiways the way that they're noted now. In the old day, we used military. It was Alpha, Juliet, Bravo. We've now gone to Alpha 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the same thing with the Delta side taxiways, Delta 1, Delta 2, Delta 3, instead of having it the different numbers. It just makes it easier for everybody coming in and out of here. When you think about the pilots that are flying into here, and maybe not familiar with the airport, they're working off their checklist and their automatic program and such. Our fire department started in July 1st, 1981. Prior to that, Buffalo Fire was out here. Our old fire station was over on Cheektowaga. Buffalo Fire was in that before we moved into it. We moved into our new station, which is at 120 Amherst Villa in 2017. We do tours. The old station was quite small, and we were able to fit we were able to fit the 3 crash trucks in, and we were able to fit the rescue in. And sometimes we could get the pumper in, and then we had to squeeze the assistant chief's truck in. We couldn't put everything in there in the winter, so we'd have to move the truck around. But our new house that we got has plenty of space, even though we've outgrown it in some areas. It still has quite a bit of space. We average about 600 calls a year. Those calls, how many do you think are airport emergencies or aircraft emergencies? 2. 2? Well, I wish it was only 2, but it's probably less than what you think. Got a guess? 50? 100? This last year we did 17. Now, when I started in 2008, we would do 50 alerts a year. Now we're down, this past year we're 17. I can't explain exactly why we're at 17, but it has gone down. Yes? That's our alert too. Yeah, so our alert system, just so we can go over that, because I know that there are different agencies that put out our information. So I'll explain to you what the alert system works. So an alert 2 is an aircraft that has some sort of mechanical emergency and could have difficulty landing or reaching the airport. The alert 3, when you see the alert 3 come out, that is an aircraft that has crashed or caught on fire somewhere. A few years ago, we added to our alert messages that go out, first alarm, second alarm, third alarm, fourth alarm, fifth alarm. Have you seen those? Right? So when you see an alert 2 and first alarm, that's a general aviation aircraft. It's a smaller aircraft. When you see alarm 2, that's my regional aircraft or my corporate business aircraft. When you see alert or alarm 3, that's my narrow bodies. That's the bulk of our business. When you see an alert or alarm 4, that is a wide body that's got an aircraft on. And when you see alarm 5, that means 2 planes are colliding. Now, that could be 2 small planes, that could be a small plane, a big plane, but that's, but typically we run a lot of first alarms, a couple second alarms, and then the third alarms. The bulk of our alerts were first alarms last year, which is our smaller aircraft. And how we get to the smaller aircraft, having problems, they're not regulated as much. The maintenance on them may or may not be up to date. The pilot's level of experience may or may not be up to date for a current compared to a commercial pilot. There's so many flat. So, but that's how we come to that. We also have a cargo alarm, if we have a cargo plane, we punch that out. And so from that alarm card that we talked about with alarm 1 through 5, we developed a run card, and then based on the size of the aircraft determines what we get for a mutual aid for us. The smaller aircraft, the first alarm, we're only going to get a handful of fire companies versus a fourth alarm or a third alarm. We're going to get more. And we use fire departments that we use our mutual aid response. The town of Cheektowaga is heavily invested in this. Highview, Uprest, and Cleveland are our 3 companies. Cheektowaga. We also have Forks that can come. We use the Q. We use Bowmansville. From the Amherst side, we use Main Transit, Williamsville, and Schneider. Those are, and then we have Buffalo Fire as well, that come on our alarm cards. And again, based on the size of the aircraft, it's going to determine it. Yep. Helicopters, Yeah, helicopters, we would respond with that, and we would treat that as a first one. Just based on the size of the aircraft, the amount of fuel on the aircraft.
So much helicopter.
Yeah, there's a significant amount of helicopter traffic. Mercy Flight, our new station, we're right across from Mercy Flight, so we're in and out on a regular basis. We work alongside them. If they need assistance loading somebody into one of their medevac aircraft or the helicopter itself, we'll help with that as well. Then you also have the military helicopters that come in and out. The Coast Guard comes in and out on a regular basis. We'll get some Apaches, we'll get Blackhawks from time to time. And then we've got the people who are fortunate to own their own helicopters, the Robinsons, right, with the single propeller and flying those, so they come in and out as well. Like any other fire department, the bulk of our calls are EMS calls. Of that 600, we probably do 300 to 350 of EMS calls. All the firefighters at the airport are EMTs, which is required via their contract. So you're always going to have an EMT on the call. We do use AMR for our transporting services. We do not transport, so we do use AMR. Fires, we have a handful of fires, and our fires are typically smaller. Knock on wood again. The bulk of our buildings are sprinklered, but we do get the occasional fire here and there. Confined space, we do that on our own property. There's quite a few confined spaces on the property. There's multiple manholes that people have to go down into. We have the storage tank for the glycol system that we have. This airport was one of the first airports to have a glycol system where we catch the glycol and we have bugs at the glycol farm, which in itself is very interesting, and Jordan, our engineer, could talk about it for hours. But we were one of the first airports in the United States to get this, and we have other airports come and look at our glycol farm. It's basically bugs eating the glycol, and the water that goes through there comes out and gets tested. So that's how we get rid of that chemical that we use to spray in the planes to keep them safe in the winter. We get people stuck in elevators, right? We have some fuel spills. We have some auto accidents on the property. Dispatch, and customer service. The whole part of our operation and our mission is to make the traveling passenger feel comfortable. Right? Lots of people come to the airport and are nervous about flying. Right? My own family. I may myself, when I fly, stop at one of the local watering holes and have a beverage before I get on the aircraft. And I can look forward to that. But people get nervous. And so we try to make that customer service piece. So if we do have a medical emergency and we do have to take somebody who can't fly, we work with the family members to help work with the terminal operations and the airlines to get them rebooked, get into the hospital, get their luggage moved around and so forth, things that we'll do. Our mutual aid response, we're currently on first alarm with UPress and Repute with our ladders, so we've been running with those folks more often, which has been good. It's good for my guys because we don't catch a lot of those types of fires, and they go to school for that, so it's helping with that. And then passenger assistance. With the passengers, there are some passengers that fly out that are in a wheelchair and they can't get from the wheelchair to the seat. So we'll work with the airlines. And we have some regular customers that we see every few months that are going out to different destinations. And they'll call ahead and let us know that they're going to need our help. They'll call through the airline, and then we'll go over the firefighters forward, and they'll help assist getting it on the aircraft. We do the same thing over at Signature. There are folks that are flying out of the private jets that may need help coming down the stairs. They may need the stair chair, so we work with those folks as well. So the department makeup, there's myself as the fire chief. As I said, I'm number 7. Since 1981, we've only had 7 fire chiefs. I've been fortunate to be the chief since 2017. My goal is to leave in 2026 and turn the reins over. That's my goal. We have 4 platoons, and we have 4 assistant chiefs assigned to each platoon. And I have a total of 36 firefighters. Our firefighters come from a range of areas. We used a written test for our firefighters. Those folks that pass the river test are then given a physical agility test. Physical agility test, then if they successfully pass that, they move on to the interview section. There's a 10-minute interview with the assistant chiefs and HR. There's another 30-minute interview with the assistant chiefs and HR as they whittle down the group, and then there's a 2-hour interview with me with the final 12, and then we rank those folks. We don't require folks to have a firefighting background because we're going to send them to the academy. So they're going to learn there how we want things done. That's a picture that was taken back in 2017 when we opened up the new fire station. A lot of those folks have since moved on and retired, but that's our fire station now. So how are we different than your structural departments? Well, we do aviation and we do structure. I always talk about I answer to multiple guys. The FAA is my main guy. I have to answer to the FAA. That's what keeps us in business. But I also have to answer the structural side of things. So on the aviation side, the FAA drives us. TSA drives us. On the structural side, New York State drives us with their rules. We have a large volume of people and goods that pass through the airport. Typically, if we're doing 100 flights a day, we're going to move somewhere around 5,000 to 8,000 people a day are going to come through the airport in a very small, concentrated area. The goods that pass through, you have multiple cargo planes that are coming in all hours of the day. The big ones come in, at night and go out in the morning, but you have smaller feeder planes that are constantly coming in and out of the airport. We're targeted for terrorism. It's a big thing for us. And the reason we're targeted for terrorism is because if you can take out an airport, you send a message to the folks. And a lot of merchandise and folks travel comes through that airport. A lot of goods come through that airport. So it makes us a target for terrorism. And because we have to be moving everybody through it, we have to have procedures in place, but also make it look friendly and be able to feel comfortable coming through it. So if you get upset with the TSA folks, we're doing their jobs. They process a lot of folks. Things have changed. But that is one of the things that we work. And we work closely with Cheektowaga. When the fire department first started, transit police didn't get created until 1984. So in 1981 and 1984, those firefighters were police officers as well. They carried and did the security within the terminal. And they would ride with Cheektowaga occasionally from time to time. And transit police was created and born, and now we have our own police department aviation division and a metro rail division. So the equipment that we use is different than the standard firefighter. I've got some pictures of that. Our trucks are bigger. Our trucks are single operation for the crash trucks. Our staffing, my minimum staffing is 6 folks. My maximum staffing is 9 for firefighters and 1 assistant chief. So my minimum staffing on the airport is 7 firefighters. With that staffing, 1 is in dispatch. We're going on my minimum. So that gives me 5. 2 go on our quint or our ladder truck, and then 3 go on the rest of the crash trucks. And we'll roll out with those 5 folks. When we're fully staffed, I have 4 on the ladder, 1 on our spare truck, and then 3 crash trucks. But take it to that number of 120 people that are trying to get out the aircraft. So we rely heavily on our mutual aid. And that's why we built that plan, and we're having folks come. Because of our staffing the way it is. And it is what it is, and just literally accept it.
That's 24 hours a day.
24 hours a day, yeah. 24 hours a day. And then there's myself, the chief that comes in and out on Monday through Friday, typically, unless there's a problem and I have to come in. And then behind the scenes, we operate behind the scenes. We talk about, we joke around with our public relations folks that nobody knows we exist. They're trying to make it so people know we exist, and I'm quite mad because I don't want anybody to know we exist. My men and women do the job because they love the job and they're not looking for the accolades and so forth. And we always joke around, well, give it to the police because they're always in trouble, so they need the help. Chief Pettis should go out and give coffee to everybody. You know, everybody loves a firefighter, right? I work for the downtown Walla Police Department as paramedic, so I get to see the world in which they live in as well, and it's a tough world. So we all work together. You know, we're one big team. We try to stay behind the scenes in the operations. That's a picture of one of the crews, the first platoon, and that's Air Force One that came in. One of our visits. So, you know, they were working that day. Now we did bring extra people when Air Force One comes in. I do bring in extra staff, but that's your typical setup for the day. Those folks that are there. Some more ways that we're different. You know, the size of the department versus the task. When that aircraft calls for the emergency on that alert 2, it's a third alarm. We have to start thinking about how we're going to prioritize things. Our main goal is to provide a rescue path and get the fire out within 3 minutes. We get tested by the FAA every year, inspected by the FAA every year. The airport it does is they do a safety inspection, so they look at the airfield's training records, they look at the fire department's training records, they look at the airfield conditions, the lighting conditions, to make sure all that. From the fire department side, we do a response to it. So the bell rings from the tower rings down to the fire station, we direct phone that they pick up, rings into the fire station. Our doors go up, our doors have to go up within 15.9 seconds for the FAA regulations. So when that bell rings, the doors are going up, the FAA tower talks into the phone and broadcasts throughout the fire department and outside the fire department and tells us that we have a 737 inbound and a runway 23, 5-minute ETA, some sort of electrical problem, 150 souls on board, and 6,000 pounds. That's what we're doing. And then we push that out to multiple agencies, and then we go to our standby units. So that aircraft coming in with 150 souls can create a problem. 6,000 pounds of fuel, they got to do the math. It's 6 pounds per gallon. Do the math for how many gallons you got, right? If they're going to land on the runway. And I always joke that we do a annual AEP review, Airport Emergency Plan Review, and we do it with our tenants, we do it with the hospitals, we do it with emergency managers, we do it with EMS, fire departments. And I always say to everybody, most incidents are 90 seconds after takeoff or 90 seconds before landing. I got you for 15 seconds. You taxi down the runway, you get to the end, you get cleared to take off, you zip off my airport. Once you climb, you cross, you know, once you get outside a mile of my district, I've got to be invited. So, and a mile either way coming in, same thing coming in if there's an issue, right? I've got you for the last 15 seconds. So they declared the emergency. Now they're flying over Amherst, Williamsville, Cheektowaga, Buffalo, Lancaster. That's why we send that message out. And our emergency managers come from all those communities so we can push that information out to them so that they know, hey, we potentially have an issue coming over that. I'm not trying to be so quiet about it. I'm getting as much information out of it.
You think dump fuel?
No, they'll fly, they'll burn it off. But you'll hear them saying they're dumping fuel, they're burning it up. So, yes?
In the past, I've done those at the airport, not runways where you
Mhm.
do you still do those?
We do.
And you still do
We do.
those? And how do you do that?
So, I'll give you my commercial now. It's called a triangle. We have to do it every 3 years.
Okay.
We are due this year, 2025, it'll be July 19th, Saturday morning. It's 8. We're probably kicking off at 8 a.m. We work with Erie County EMS to help get our actors, we call them. And since I've been chief, and even before I got promoted to assistant chief, Since 2013, we've changed our triangles and we've incorporated more things. We now have the hospitals that are participating with us. In 2022, the hospitals wanted 60 people of their own, so we sent folks to the various hospitals. I'm working with the hospitals now. They're still looking to have the same kind of response to when we know how many they want. The FAA tells me how many people I have to have for victims. Because we're a C-index airport, I have to have 60 to 80 victims. We're also, my goal is to also have a friends and family portion. We haven't tested the friends and family portion in quite some time, and that's a significant piece. We've been fortunate with the airport and working with JetBlue that this past February, we were able to bring in the NTSB to come and do a 2-day class for the friends and family folks and for the airlines on what they have to do for that piece and the federal legislation that goes with that. We count on Cheektowaga and the CERT team in this building as part of our response for our non-injured and setting up that friends and family piece. So we will be doing that. I'll get the information out for the county's website where you can log in if you're willing to come up for us. Cool. No, it is. It's a chance for people to see what goes on, and we test different things each time. We've got some things that we know are issues. I'm not going to test them again because I already know an issue. One of the things that we did in 2022 is we set up a field hospital. Just try to get that because we know that there's an ambulance shortage, right? And if I've got to move 25 critical people and I only have 3 ambulances or 5 ambulances available, we got to care for them, those folks, until we can get them moved. So how do we do that? Erie County, we partner with Erie County has field hospitals, and so part of their response, and we keep one of their trailers at the airport, do a field hospital trailer at the airport, which we've used from time to time. We used it during a blizzard when we had folks stranded there. But we work with them to help set that up, and they work with the sheriffs to help set that piece up. There's lots of pieces to an aircraft incident, which we'll talk about hopefully later. Firefighters go to a 16-week fire academy at New York State Academy, where they get multiple classes and they get their national test done. When they get done with that, or beforehand, they have to take a 40-hour FAA course. Then we have our annual FAA requirements. I talked about the response drill. We have 14 topics that we have to cover, and they inspect our records every year for that. And then our trucks are different. That is the Beast, taken in front of alongside one of our trucks. We work closely with the Secret Service when they come into Buffalo, and they want some pictures, so it's a picture of the Beast. Services that we provide, we respond to various emergencies at the airport, whether it's a first aid call, an aircraft emergency, someone stuck in the parking lot, we may go up there and help. We've helped transit police locate lost people. Our mutual aid response, we do training for the area fire departments and EMS agencies. In 2012, FedEx donated Ginger to us. Ginger is a 727 aircraft. If you've flown out of Buffalo since 2012, you've seen it in the middle of the airfield, you may have wondered what that aircraft is sitting out there. It's white and some purple on it. That was donated to us by FedEx. We were one of the 50 airports that they gave that aircraft an aircraft to. They flew it in, they took the things off that they needed on it, and we used it for training. Not only do we use it for training, law enforcement uses it for training. Many of the local law enforcement agencies will come out to do some terrorist training on it because it works well for them. Customs likes to use it, and the airfield uses it. And the airline companies that have to do their spraying for the glycol, they'll come and use that aircraft because they can go set up and spray water on it. So it gets used by multiple folks. Again, like I said, assistance of passengers, and we do lots of tours. So if somebody wants to tour different groups, we do lots of tours. Our apparatus, I have a response vehicle. The assistant chiefs are known as F10. We have a mini pumper, which is F2. We have a 100-foot ladder truck, which is F7. We have a structural engine, which is F3, and then our crash trucks are F4, F5, and F6. That is F4, that's our crash truck. That's 3,000 gallons of water, 420 gallons of foam. Has 2 bumper turrets on it, you can see. That's F5, that's our newest truck. We got that delivered this past December. That too is 3,000 gallons of water. That's 420 gallons of foam and 500 pounds of dry chem on it. The operator, one of these pictures you'll see, that's again a picture with Air Force One that they were there. That's our ladder truck. Not every department, many departments have a truck like that. You'll see a picture later on about the training. Our training, again, like I said, they go through a 16 course, the 40-hour basic course, New York City EMTs, and the 14 recurring topics. This is just a picture of one of our mutual aid departments coming in to do training with us at night, and we're open to whoever wants to come. And we have a variety of different departments that will come and train with us. This picture is up in Rochester. They do nighttime fires for the 40 hours. And we go up there every year. We have to do training fires. So we go up for 8 hours. The current firefighters, but the new hires are going to go through that class. That picture was taken last year with one of the crews doing pit fires and managing that with a hand line. It's a picture of some guys working on ginger. You know, one of the challenges that we have is getting folks off the aircraft. One of the reasons we need so much mutual aid. When you think about 20 injured people on an aircraft that can't walk, if the aircraft is busted out, we're going out a side window or making a hole bigger and keeping people off the wings and so forth. That's a picture from 2022 when we did our drill, and some of the folks that were in there that helped us. Typically, we end up with about 300 people all told between first responders and actors and assistants for this. And the Cheektowaga CERT team has been a friend of ours for years. You can't really see it with the way the lighting is, but Kelsey is in the middle of the truck, and that's how they operate. They sit in the middle of the truck. So the crash truck operator is in the middle of the truck, not on either side, and they're by themselves. They have a joystick with inside the truck that they're operating those 2 turrets. It's another training picture for us. Spraying some water on the aircraft. Again, that truck has 3,000 gallons of water. The pump on it's 2,000 gallons, so we're going to go through that tank real quick if they're not good with where they place it. So we practice lots of times on run-ups and placing the water where we need it to go. For alert response, you're going to get the fire department, transit police, the airfield, terminal operations, and mutual aid. Mutual aid is both law enforcement and police, or excuse me, fire. From a police standpoint, we've got Cheektowaga, Lancaster, the Q, Amherst, the sheriffs, the troopers, and Buffalo. Just like we mimics, pretty much mimics our fire response. We will, just for advice, if you hear the alert 2 come out, you'll be able to move through, but when it goes to a 3, they lock things down for us pretty quick. So it works out great for us. So when a crash occurs, what happens? There's multiple people that are responding to that event. Lots of resources are coming that way. Information gets out faster than it used to with social media today. Over the few years, right? We may be slow on getting our information out because we want to vet. We will get information out to say that an incident occurred. We're not going to get out a lot of information right out the get-go. Right? Impact to the community, it's a huge impact to the community. Especially if it's a plane that's coming here that has passengers, people that live here. We have that department. We also have multiple agencies that are coming. So when a crash occurs, there's the initial response from the fire department, the police, and EMS for the life safety. Once we've got that part taken care of, the best we can, we move into the investigation piece. The NTSB runs the investigation. Even on the smaller aircraft, the single aircraft crashes, the NTSB is running it. And we had that crash in East Aurora back in December. We responded out there from a technical, we provided the technical support, and get the FAA inspectors notified, get the NTSB notified, and the NTSB came up the next day. But the NTSB started running that scene from Atlanta when they got the call. So many times I'll have different conversations with different folks, like, they're not here, how can they be in charge? I'm trying to explain to them, they're ultimately in charge, they direct how we do things. Another training fire up in Rochester, just to show you the size. The MCI, so from our world, that's mass casualty incident, that's what an MCI is. Right, with each flight, commercial aircraft range from 60 to 280 seats. Taking off and landing is when most incidents may occur. It's a very low probability of occurring, but it's a high profile event. Right, it's everywhere. Yes? Yeah. Yeah, I'll zip through, it's almost.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Our community environment involvement is a variety of ways. That is we call it a water cannon salute. We do that for pilots that are retiring. We do it for the honor flight. For those folks that are going out, so that's what that looks like. We do our open houses. We usually work with Mercy Flight when they do their open house. We do ours in conjunction with them, so you get two for the price of one. That is a picture of the folks that got stranded in the blizzard in 2022. The firefighters went out and rescued 42 people that were stuck between Young's on Arrow and up the Holtz. Transit police went and got 22 on the other side, and we had another 90 stuck in the terminal. We moved everybody but this family from over to the terminal. We kept this family at the firehouse. And one of the things, the little girl in the beginning, in the middle, had asked if Santa was going to find them at the firehouse. So one of the challenges we had is getting some gifts from Santa. So fortunately, Delaware North folks were stuck at the airport, and we went shopping at Delaware North. And we created Christmas for them. We had to figure out how to get the gifts to the fire station, all that, so that's one of the stories that we have. We just started this new program, Hidden Disabilities in the Sunflower Program. It's one of 240 airports around it. It's a program with anybody with physical, mental, and neurological disabilities who are traveling through the Buffalo International Airport. We want them to discreetly identify themselves using displaying a sunflower lanyard or wristband. The sunflower symbol alerts the airport workers that special attention or assistance may be needed. And that's what the lanyards look like. And what will happen is somebody will see you with the lanyard and that's how they get help you, without making a big deal for you. There's many across the internationally, but we are one of the areas that picked up on that and started doing it last year. So that's the end.
Thank you, we really do appreciate it. Anybody have any questions?
You said you had to have so many gallons of water. Is that on the trucks?
It's on the trucks, yeah.
There's no hydrants at all?
Not on the runways. I have hydrants all around,
Okay.
but on the truck, the water is geared by the just on the trucks.
And one other thing, you mentioned the length of the two runways.
Mm-hmm.
Now, does that determine who can land there?
Yeah, and the size aircraft and what the pilots are comfortable with. Yeah.
Are you responsible for the tunnel that goes on Arrow Drive too? Or is that part of the tunnel?
It's a joint effort. Our runway is above it,
Yeah.
so we have fire protection. We have a camera on it. We monitor it from the fire station. We see it, and we'll respond out there if there's a fire or a car accident underneath it because of the tunnel. We're worried about the aircraft, so we want to protect that. But it's also the volunteer fire departments and the law enforcement's piece as well. So it's a joint effort. I talk all my long.
No, I'm glad you did. I got no problem. I don't want to throw you out early. I do appreciate you coming. I really, really do.
And thank you guys for all your
Thank you.
help.
Let's give this guy a big round of applause. Okay.
Alrighty, folks. Remember, support your community, no matter if it's Cheektowaga, North Tonawanda, just do your part and make the community better that you're in, because you are the change. Now, today's talk for the fire chief for our Buffalo Airport was really cool. And if you can, check out a tour because they got a lot to say. Alright, folks, remember, like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Take care, my friends.